Hi, it's Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton, and we are back in my kitchen where today we are going to be using the power cooker. That's right, the power cooker. And today we're going to show you a new setting. It's the low temp cook setting. And we're going to be doing that because we're making an awesome Mexican soup, a Mexican enchilada soup. Now, 2 nights ago when I was meal planning, I had made 8 large chicken breasts here in the power cooker, and I did that on the stew setting, and then I added 5 minutes to that stew setting, and they turned out perfectly. And I kept a piece out here to show you. I spiced them up just the way I like them, with the right herbs and a little bit of thyme, a little bit of basil. Chicken already has a lot of salt in it naturally, so since we're on a low salt, low carb diet with more proteins, we can add the flavors through the herbs. So thyme and basil, things like that. Maybe lemon balm and dill. Maybe that's your thing. And that would be really good if you were making chicken salad with this. So basically, when it was done, I let it just come down to temperature, let the steam out, and then I just let it sit in the water for about 15 minutes. And then when it was cool enough, I removed them, cooled them on the counter for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I put them in this, which by the way I doubled because that gives it an airlock in between. See the little airlock here in between the 2 pieces, and that helps keep the heat in, but not the heat so quickly coming out into your refrigerator. Works for me. So now I've kept 1 chicken breast out because I also want chicken salad tomorrow for my lunch. We used all the chicken up except for that one for my lunch, and then here I just shredded 3 chicken breasts. So let's start with our ingredients with our Mexican enchilada soup. Now, so the chicken itself has salt in it, and it has the spices, the herbs in it already. So I don't really need to add a lot of herbs to this. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with our chicken, and we're going to put all 3 cooked and shredded chicken breast in here. That's the chicken, so I want to wash my hands next. I'm going to cover this in just a little bit of olive oil. I think it's about 7 ounces of my corn that I thawed. See all the water in there? I'm going to go ahead. That water has lots of nutrients in it from the corn juice. I'm going to put that in there. So basically 1 can of corn. And if corn bothers you, then by all means, just use less of it. And then here I thawed out my cream of corn. That's when you scrape the cobs and get all that really good juice out of there. And I'm adding a bag of it, and it would be equivalent, weighed out, it's equivalent to a can of corn. And I'll get the rest of this out here in a minute. I'm going to add in my rinsed pint of black beans, and I need to rinse that a little better. Hold on. There's some strong black beans when you home can them like that. They are delicious. Now I'm going to add in, and I didn't have any canned this year because we traveled all last year, but these are fire roasted diced tomatoes. I do suggest at least 1 can of the fire roasted tomatoes, and these are 14.5 ounce cans. They're just a great value. I found them on the bottom shelf. I, however, am going for 2 cans of those. So delicious. They're not a hot spicy thing. They're just a fire roasted thing. Adds a nice flavor to it. And then I'm adding another can of diced tomatoes. Remember, this is my recipe for it. So, okay, I'm also adding some diced green chilies. You can add this whole thing. This determines your heat. Alright, this determines your heat. I'm only going to put in half of them. Yeah, I'm only going to go half here. I don't want my soup that hot. We can save these for another day, another dish. I'll put them in like a little thing, and you can either freeze them or you can put them in the refrigerator for, just use them up in a day or 2. Okay, now here I had a can of black sliced olives, and I'm going to put in half that can. And I'm going to add the rest of these to my chicken salad. Okay, now I'm just putting in a half of a chopped red onion. Now to add some of the better ingredients here, we are adding some red enchilada sauce. And it is a 10-ounce can. You can add, they come in a small, medium, and large can. You can add however much you like. This is the size that I chose. Give that a mix. Some nice color there, doesn't it? It's really coming together. Now I'm going to add a quart and a half. These are 1.5 pint jars of chicken broth. So chicken broth. That's 1.5 quarts of chicken broth. Hopefully it's all going to fit. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. There you go. Just a pinch. Just a pinch. And that was my pink Himalayan sea salt. Alright, I really didn't want to add that because of John's diet, but that wasn't that much. I just wanted to show you. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind. So if I put it in there, at least you'll know to write it in that you put it in. And there's enough of it in here, it won't matter. And by the way, my salt, when I canned it, I only used 1/4 teaspoon of salt, I believe. I'll have to look up my recipe for each package of corn after I blanched it and froze it. So again, everything I'm using in here so far has been low salt. Even in the canned stuff, I've tried to use or find the low salt or no salt. Like right here, this says no salt added. So we're watching our carbs and our salt and our sugar intake. Carbs, sugar, and salt. And this is a great recipe for diabetics. So yummy. At this stage is we're going to go over in our head, make sure that we got everything in here. And I would like to add a little pepper. I am a pepper person, and I can't find my pepper grinder, so I'll have to use my regular pepper. That's probably enough, right? You don't want to overcomplicate the flavors of this type of soup. To naturally season it, I'm going to add just a little bit of thyme. My thyme in my garden's not up yet, and I've used it all over the winter, so just a little bit. These things really add some healthy nutrients to your soup. And this is just a little bit of basil, and I'm out of basil. Basil doesn't hold over for the year for me because I'm in central Indiana. So I buy some, and these all came from Menards back when they were selling them. And because the beans are in here and I like just a little bit of sweetness to this, I usually add a little brown sugar, like maybe 1/2 tablespoon of brown sugar or so. But here I'm going to use the no-calorie sweeteners. All right, I'm going to be adding that in just because that's why I like mine to taste. You don't have to put any kind of sugars in here at all. But I do find that it cuts the acidity of the tomatoes and it helps the gas with the beans. So I'm just going to give this a stir. Now, in the very last, when this is all nice and bubbly and heated through, I'm going to set this on low. We're going to go visit my father's grave today. And then when we come back, this should be nice and bubbly. Shake it up. I'm going to add some of this sriracha hot chili sauce. Just a little bit. Just a little. Gives it that flavor that I like. You can make this as hot and spicy as you like it. You make this your recipe. That's what I did. And if you're doing it just the way it is, right here, right now, without any cream to it, or anything like cream cheese or anything like that to it, you can can this up. When you get this flavored to how you like it, you can can this up at 10 pounds of pressure if you're under 1,000 feet altitude or less, you know, under 1,000 feet. 15 pounds of pressure if you're over the 1,000 feet altitude. And you would can this up for the same time, both altitudes. Because it's got chicken in it, even though it's cooked, you'd still can this up for 90 minutes for quarts and 75 minutes for pints. And then when you reheat this, then you can add your cream to it if you desire to. Now, when I come back, since I'm not canning this up, when I come back, I am going to put in some fat-free cream cheese. And I'm going to put in about 3 cubes of that, just little 1-inch cubes. And then I'm also going to be adding this Mexican cream. Okay, it's table cream. And it only has, a serving size is 1 tablespoon. And trust me, about 2 or 3 tablespoons for all this soup will do it. And it's only got 2.5 grams of fat, 1 gram of saturated fat, 0 trans fat, which that's a number we really want to look at. Cholesterol is 10 milligrams. Sodium is 10 milligrams, only 1% of your daily value. That's good. And total carbs is only 1 gram. So if you're 56 carbs per meal, or even if you're going 56 carbs throughout the entire day, which is what I'm having John do here at first, then this is only adding 1 carb to this dish. Now what I'm going to go through then is, because I have to be lactose free, I have to add my lactose-free milk. But I'm going to add that only to my bowls of soup, not to John's. That's the adjustment we'll make. I'm going to turn this on low cook. And I'm just going to add just a little bit. There we go. That's it. Now let's cream that up. Let's see how that did. Creamed it up a little bit. Stir it well before you make any more additions of the cream. And you can add just the straight up lactose-free milk if you want to. That's fine. This is low carb. I think it needs a little bit more cream. And I like a creamy soup. Look at that. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to add, you're going to add a mix of Colby Monterey Jack cheese. That's what cheese you like. That's what I like. You're going to be adding that last. You're going to add that and the cream cheese after this is brought up to like a simmer. It only needs a simmer for about a half an hour on low. We were able to control John's diabetes for years with just food. But then he got older here and everything changed, and of course he would start snacking again. I couldn't keep him out of the snacks. I still can't. It's really very difficult. So I have to make all these foods, and you can freeze this in advance. And I just put them in microwave safe trays like this, and I just put all that in the freezer and label it. And John can kind of get out what he wants, and if he is snacking, at least I know he's snacking on a low sugar to no sugar snack or a lunch that I know that is healthy for him. And now I'm getting ready to make him a ham loaf, and I'm going to throw that in the oven in a few hours as well. You can put the lid on this, but don't hit closed. Keep your steam button here. Keep it open, okay? Let that steam. We're not wanting to pressure can, put pressure on this because the chicken's already cooked. We just want this to simmer. I decided I wanted some of my sweet snacking peppers in here. So I had about 5 left here in the refrigerator, so I went ahead and used those up too. Okay, so here's 1, 2 cubes, 3 cubes. Those were small cubes. And then some fat-free, great value Colby and Monterey Jack shredded cheese. And he gets to have 2 half cups of that in there. And then I just added some more carbs when I did that. I added one carb per 1/4 cup. So I just added approximately 2 carbs. Let's work on hubby here and see how he likes it. There's some of those fire roasted tomatoes and peppers, onions, black olives. It's nice and soupy. That's what I like about it. Let's get him some of this here broth. He likes corn, so let me get some of that corn in there. There we go. There's some of the corn. Isn't that a beautiful soup? There we go. It just needs some tortillas. And I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit of cheese here on top for him. Pretty tortilla chips to give it a little bit of a crunch. And there is a beautiful, healthy, low carb, low sugar, low fat, low cholesterol, and low salt soup that John can have. And I'm sure that he's going to think that this is just awesome. All right, be sure and give this soup a try. And yes, we're going to bring Daddy in here to try it. Cheers. I'm going to do a tortilla chip too.
It really tastes good.
That is good.
And I don't like it spicy like the girls have. I like this fine.
Okay, we love you. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. We have more diabetic recipes coming up. This is really delicious. So good. We have a nutritional class coming up, and we'll talk about that too probably here in about a week or two. All right? We love you. God bless, and stay healthy. Remember, low carbs, low sugar, good health. Low sodium too. Good. That's good. Still more heat. I just wish I'd bought the medium peppers instead of mild. But it's good.